Hey everyone, it's Naomi here, and this is my update to moving to Alabama. Okay, so if you're not from the South, you may not completely understand what it's like to live in the South. And some of these things may carry over to the northern parts of the East Coast. And some of the things from the West Coast will travel up to Oregon and Washington too. So don't feel that I'm leaving you out of this equation, and it doesn't fit necessarily everyone, but it's just kind of some things that I've noticed. So I made a list because I didn't want to forget everything that I've learned since moving from California to Alabama. So I found out recently that Californians actually do have an accent. I know, because you see Hollywood and you think everyone's trying to change their accent to sound more Californian or more Hollywood, but we actually do have an accent in California. There's things that we say that make us very different from, let's say, the South. One of the things that I've noticed that people have kind of said was something different was we say yeah or so or yeah so. So when you say something and they'll say, well, do you agree? And you're like, yeah, so I get what you're saying. We say that a lot in California. We use it a lot in our vocabulary, at least in the Central Valley, because that's the other thing, is California also has its own dialect for depending where you live in California. Like I grew up in San Diego. San Diego has a different dialect than Central. Central is a little bit more southern elements to it than, let's say, northern, the Bay Area, and southern LA and San Diego area. So there is different dialect for each part of California, but I'm speaking more in general as kind of a collective dialect for the state of California. One thing that I do love in Alabama is our shows come on first. No spoilers. Like, you don't have to worry about if you go on the internet seeing who won Survivor or who won Big Brother or what happened on Game of Thrones. You know all of the answers before the West Coast, which is nice because you're not ruining things. You're not getting spoilers before they come out. Another big difference, and this may be more of like a Hollywood thing, but since most of my family, at least on my husband's side especially, is from LA area, and in that area there's a lot of kiss, which means when you come up to say hello to someone, it's always, and you actually get a little stressed out about it because you're not sure, are they a single kisser or are they a both cheeks kisser? So it's a mwah, mwah, or a mwah, hi darling, or hey, or whatever the case. They don't do that in the South. It's a handshake or how you doing. It's not this whole fakeness, which you can kind of take offense to that if you choose to, but it is something that's very different, and I've done it most of my life because all my friends and family do it, but it is something that they don't do in the South, at least not that I've seen. Gas prices. All right, if you're from California, go ahead and plug your ears because you're not gonna like this. They are a little higher right now, but when we first moved here, it was $1.85 a gallon. And right now, because of Irma and the issues with that, we're at $2.25. When I left California, we were getting ready to top at $5. I don't know where it's at currently. I know you guys just actually inherited another gas tax, so I'm not sure where you're at there, but holy smokes. I think I spend $22 to fill up my tank, and I have a Cadillac SRX, which I think is like, I don't know, 20 gallons, I don't know exactly how many gallons it takes. Another one that Californians will not like. If you are a tree hugger, just go ahead and fast forward this 10 seconds. Plastic bags are used to the max here. If you go to Walmart, I swear to God, they put like one item in each bag. I will tell you, I got a little perturbed when I was in California because they started charging 10 cents a bag. Now, mind you, I'm pretty cautious, conscientious about how many bags I would use, and I really would try to fill them up. I wouldn't, double bag, and I tended to go more for the brown paper bags, but it was the 10 cents was charged for either if you did a paper bag or you did a plastic bag. And I did try to remember to bring my bags, and I even got the little reusable ones, which I use here. But holy moly, do they use a lot of bags here. And I'm not kidding. They were putting like a milk carton in one bag, and then they put like 3 items in another, and then they kept, and I was like, I had so many bags the first week living here that I was like, holy moly, I was feeling very guilty. Because I was really annoyed by the bag situation in California, but then I became like, I felt bad. I started feeling bad about the bag situation here. Bless your heart. Okay, this is not a West Coast thing. We don't use that word there. At first, you think, oh, it's so sweet. They're saying something nice to you. But bless your heart has like 1,000 different meanings. It could mean, I feel bad for you. Oh, that's so sweet. You're a dumb idiot. It means so many different things here. So it really takes you a moment to think, was that an insult or were you complimenting? What exactly did you mean? And so you become kind of conscientious about it. Like when you say something and somebody says that, it like kind of sticks in your head for a moment. You're like, did I sound stupid? Did that sound okay? and I've even called people on it. Well, are you saying it because you think you feel bad for me, or do you think I'm stupid? And it's just something that people use a lot here. Fashion. Fashion is very different in the South versus the West Coast. The West Coast, I will say the vibe is kind of more relaxed, or polar opposite where they're like, wearing the fanciest of outfits. But I would say it's pretty casual, shorts and a t-shirt, shorts and a tank top, things like that. There is a little bit of that style here, but for the most part, people dress to the nines to do anything in this town. They will get so dressed up, and monogramming is an absolute thing here. People monogram everything, and we don't really do that in California. At least no one I knew did that. The other thing is that the shorts on guys is a lot shorter. When I was getting ready to go school shopping for my son, I noticed they all wear, I think it's Avocados is the brand, but they're like fishing shorts, and they hit somewhere around mid to higher thigh. It was a little interesting because my son has like permanent tan lines from, going to Hurricane Harbor and to the beach and things like that. So we couldn't really, it didn't fit our style, and it's something we're gonna have to become accustomed to. The other thing is women love to wear the Nike running shorts, which they wear them in California too, but they're not really a thing here. Like everyone wears the Nike running shorts, and I have like thicker legs. I've always had thicker legs. Those are my worst nightmare. I'm never gonna wear those shorts, and I see them on 80-year-old women. They all wear the Nike running shorts, or they're wearing their monogram. It's just kind of one or the other. And Lilly Pulitzer is a thing here, which I knew of the brand when I lived in California, but I didn't know like it's a thing. It's a thing here. So that's another big one. Yes, ma'am. Okay. When I lived in California and I was in my 20s and someone would say, yes, ma'am, even in my early 30s, I always kind of was insulted by it. Like, I'm not an old lady, don't call me yes, ma'am. But it doesn't matter what your age is here in Alabama. Everyone always is addressed by yes, ma'am, no, sir, yes, sir. It's just how it is. And it doesn't matter what the conversation is about, it doesn't matter your age. Nothing like that. Everyone just uses yes ma'am, yes sir. Now it's growing on me. I love it. I think it's so great that children are taught to address people like that here. All right, the next thing is avocados. You will not understand this unless you live on the West Coast. Avocados are a thing in California. We love our avocados. We put guacamole on everything. We put avocados on everything. It's just a thing there. Avocados here are terrible. I don't think I've had a good avocado here, except I did go to the Cheesecake Factory and I got the avocado toast there. That was the first time I've had an avocado here that was good. And they don't really offer it as a side here. So if you get a burger or you get a sandwich, anything like that, it's not really a thing. And when you do get it, it's like a rock. It's either one or the other. They're either so ripe that they're brown and disgusting, or they're hard as a rock. There's no like happy medium here. So I'm really sad about that because yes, coming from California, I'm an avocado guacamole girl. I love me some avocado. Now don't think I'm bad mouthing the state. Everything else has been really great, but I'm just saying, it's a California thing. We love our avocados over there. The beaches, we noticed right away that the beaches here, now if you're a surfer, you're going to like the West Coast better. If you're a surfer, I learned to surf at a young age, so I understand that, I get it. If you're a surfer, you're going to love the California beaches, but the water is really cold. And the beaches, a lot of them are really dirty and gross, especially Santa Barbara, the really main ones that everybody kind of goes to, the touristy ones, Manhattan Beach. They're so disgusting and gross, and it's sad because there's a high homeless population there, and so you have problems with syringes and things like that on their beaches there, and you don't dare go barefoot walking around because you're afraid, you know, you're gonna step into something. And I don't know, I just found the beaches to be a lot cleaner here. The sand is cleaner, it's just cleaner in general, and the water's warmer, which has its own series of problems, but it's nice when you get into the water, and the water feels really nice and toasty compared to freezing cold in California. Food, okay. Food is amazing here. It's like whole other level amazing, but we have kind of an obesity epidemic here in Alabama, although I have not seen any chubby people because I was hoping to make friends with them because this chubby girl needs some chubby friends. Everyone is super skinny around here, so I don't know if it's where you live. I don't know where these obese people are because come find me, I want to be your best friend. They're all skinny here, but they love to run, which is not a thing for me. I do not like to run. You will never get me running, no matter how much I practice. I don't like to run. But people aren't really overweight here, but they say we have an obesity problem, and there's a lot of people that are diabetic. I can see where you could become diabetic. Everything is either sugary or fried. It's delicious, but it's not the healthiest of foods, hence why I'm getting a gobble gobble going on. Other thing is wildlife. Now, I will tell you, where I lived in the Central Valley, we did get the occasional bear that would wander in, or an elk or something like that, because of the drought. They were kind of coming down looking for food and water, things like that. But here, it's everywhere, and it's not just in the most remote places, it's in the city and everywhere else. They're just everywhere, especially right now. We're in hunting season, so deer just like run out into the street and you're right by the mall. It's just kind of crazy how it is because there's trees everywhere, which is amazing and wonderful. It kind of hides that city feel, but you still get a lot of the city aspects here. We have great shopping, things like that. So I'm a little nervous because they say it's not about if you're going to hit something, it's when you're going to hit something. And I know my reaction, my instant reaction will be to slam on the brakes, and we live by a river and I'm going to end up down in that river. I just know it because I'm going to react wrong when I do. And that's the other thing, is there's no street lights here and there's no sidewalks. So you go down these really windy roads because there's not, and I'll get into this later, but most of the time you either have to take a windy road or you can take an interstate. And so you go down these windy roads and you can't really walk down it. So I noticed like a lot of the runners and things will just kind of run down the middle of the street or on one side or the other, and then they cross over if a car comes. But yeah, there's no sidewalks here and there's no street lights. I think the city downtown has some street lights, but for the most part, there's no street lights here. The other thing that has gotten me some crazy looks is we don't have freeways in Alabama or in the South. Freeways are a California West Coast thing, and when I started addressing highways and interstates here, I didn't know, like, there's no such thing as freeways here, first of all, but also in how you describe where you're going. When you live in California, you tend to say, I take the I-5 to the 210, after, you know, then to the 405. You say to. So when you talk about the next place you're going, you address it as to. So I'm going to take the I-5 to the 405. Oops, let me grab my paper. Or to the 210. That's just how you address everything here. But when you say that here, they look at you like you're a foreigner. They don't know what you're talking about when you say that. First of all, it's, you know, you don't take anything to, and they don't know what you're talking about when you say freeway. They just look at you like, I don't know what you're speaking, but I wish you would clear things up. And so that was another thing of our accent of being Californian, is that you do sound a little crazy in some of the ways you address things, and directions is one of them. Classroom size is actually a lot smaller here, which we're considered a bigger city. Birmingham is a big area, but my son is now in middle school, and his average class size is between 12 and 13 children, minus his PE class, which is his biggest, and he has 25 kids in it. That is the smallest classroom. We had 40 to 45 kids in my son's classroom last year in California. So the fact that the classrooms are so much smaller, and I actually looked, because it's all public information, to see what teachers were getting paid, and they're actually getting paid better here than they were in California too. So go figure. The teachers are living a lot better life here in Alabama than they were in California. And I'm sure it's, you know, it's nice for the teachers, but it's also nice for the children, because they can ask questions and they get more one-on-one attention versus California. The other thing that California likes to boast, especially where I lived in the Central Valley, is we were one of the top schools in California. And coming to Birmingham, the education was actually more advanced than it was in California, surprisingly, because you hear all about how they're so advanced, and they really weren't. So that's kind of false information that you hear a lot. The other thing is hair. Your hair, like, I have a little bit of curl. I'll tell you, when I first curled my hair today, I curled it a lot, but it doesn't hold a curl because of the humidity. And if you have curly hair, it takes a whole nother level here. I'm thankful that I have straight hair, but I have all of these curling irons and everything, and they pretty much just sit in the drawer now, because you don't know, either A, it's gonna rain, because we get a lot of rain here, or B, the humidity is just gonna straighten it out, because it just dampens everything. Your face, everything. And that's the other thing, is your makeup. You'll put on your makeup, and I used to have very, very dry skin, eczema, and I still do have eczema, and I can see it. Like, I've developed something on my hands, or my hands are starting to peel and stuff because of the eczema. So I am still having aspects which I've never had in California, but my skin was always patchy and dry, and now it's like a oil slicked mess. Like, I put it on, 10 minutes later, it looks greasy, it looks gross, it doesn't feel good, it feels cakey, it looks cakey. I'm just not loving makeup here, and I can understand why so many girls are natural and pretty here, because the humidity makes their skin look, you know, vibrant and flawless, more so than in California. Which was the other thing, is when I went to the dermatologist, immediately she said, "You're not from the South, are you?" And I said, "No, but how did you know?" And she said, "I can tell by your skin immediately. It's so much drier. The lines and everything in my face are so much more embedded in my skin than they are here in Alabama." So if that tells you anything, the dry air is not necessarily great for the aging process. The other thing is bugs. We had bugs in California, don't get me wrong, but they're on steroids here. Everything is crazy. Like, we had dog food in our pantry, and one day I opened up the pantry, and I'm not kidding you, there was probably 1 billion ants in our pantry. We had to take everything out of our pantry. I don't even know where they came from. I couldn't follow them. I don't know if they're carpenter ants. I didn't know what they were, but they were everywhere. and we've sprayed. I've tried going and finding where the mother is, the queen ant, but I seem to be very unsuccessful here. Cockroaches are huge here. Spiders are huge here. Everything is on steroids as far as bugs go here. And if you spray them, they look at you like, any more dessert you'd like to feed me? They don't even die when you spray them with spray. And I've paid for them to come out to spray. I've done everything, and they're still no better than they were when we first moved in. They have something here called bread and milk days. Never heard of this before in my life. You hear about the hurricanes in Florida and they're terrible, they're so scary, but you don't realize that those come inland. So Irma didn't affect us the way that it affected Florida, obviously, but we got torrential rain and flooding and our rivers and stuff flooded. The other part that they don't talk about is the tornadoes. So hurricanes create tornadoes for us. The air, the way that it's moving, it creates tornadoes for us. The other thing is that they don't talk about this. You hear about Tornado Alley. Look up Alabama and how many tornadoes we get in this state. We are one of the highest hit states for tornadoes. We lived here for exactly 1 week. I was unpacking. All of a sudden, sirens are going off all over the place here. I live in Jefferson County. I didn't know what it meant. I'd never heard a siren like this. I wasn't sure exactly what it was. I've just never had any type of siren like this. So I'm freaking out. I didn't know, like, do we run and hide? Do we go about our lives? And I'm like looking at my neighbor across the street is weed whacking and the other one's mowing their yard and one's picking flowers. I'm like, what do I do? So I go and talk to them. They said, well, you'll know. Listen to your radio and listen to your app on your phone. Download them and then you'll know when it's time to come inside. I'm like, the thing is, you don't necessarily know if it's going to touch you and where it's going to touch down. They just say you're in a polygon area, and when it gets close to your street, you go to your safe place, which we have a basement that I'm in right now. Or, you go to your safe spot and you wait it out. But you don't know, like, is it going to hit you? Is it going to hit your neighbor? Where is it going to hit? They don't know. So yes, the earthquakes are very scary in California, but tornadoes are their own scariness too. Although the only plus that you get from a tornado versus an earthquake is you can prepare. But going back to the bread and milk, any type of situation that's coming your way in Alabama, they strip the stores. There's no water, there's no milk, there's no bread, there's no food, there's nothing on the shelves. So when Irma was coming, we had our own issues. So Irma, we had our own issues because things were going to Florida, but also because everything was getting depleted in our own area. Anyway, I hope this was all helpful. I see my thing blinking at me, which means it's going to cut off, but I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I might just do a part 2 as we get to know the area. All right, guys, until next time, bye.